Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and this is my husband Drew. And on this channel, we talk about life and relationships after leaving the church and do some commentary on the goings on in evangelical Christianity. So, are you at all familiar with what witch talk is?
It sounds pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty into witch talk as a baby witch. But witch talk is a TikTok subculture where witchy creators share their tips and tricks of the craft. So a lot of the time they'll show different spell workings or information about Sabbats or that kind of thing.
Mm,
But witch talk actually has an evil twin, and that is ex-witch talk.
of course. Okay.
So to give you a little bit of background, exwitch TikTok is comprised of creators who claim they used to practice witchcraft and that Jesus has since saved them. Now they warn their viewers against engaging in any practices that are considered to be witchcraft. And from what I can tell, the majority of ex-witches didn't necessarily identify themselves as witches before,
Okay.
but once they converted to Christianity, they were told that things like astrology and tarot cards are
Mm,
witchcraft. And they're like, oh shit, well, I used to use those things. And so now they're calling themselves ex-witches.
oh, yeah, it's kinda like how some Christians and Muslims will be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm an ex-atheist," and what they mean
Yeah.
by that is they just didn't really, care that much about religion, but they didn't really have an opinion on it before.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the case for all ex-witch creators. Like some identified as witches before, but I've kind of seen this trend, I guess, with ex-witch TikTok where it's like the things that they talk about doing before were just like zodiac signs,
Mm,
and which is part a lot of witches do like zodiac signs, but there's a lot more to witchcraft than just that.
yeah.
So yeah. All right, so we have 4 different TikToks that we're going to look at today. Are you ready to get into this?
Yes.
5 things that I avoid as an ex-witch that God has convicted me of. Let's get into it. I no longer associate myself, my children, my family members, or anybody that I know with zodiac signs. People don't realize how they are yoking themselves to these demonic identities. And why do I say identities? Because people who follow zodiacs, like I used to, associate their entire personality based off of their zodiac sign. Even though they'll say, oh, but I'm like not a normal blah 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 because I do this and not that. People don't realize that they're really associating themselves with the identities that the devil has given them. Anytime that my family members or anybody in my family tries to associate my children or myself with a zodiac sign, I quietly rebuke them in the name of Jesus.
So I think that the reason that a lot of evangelical Christians are against astrology or zodiac signs is because in the Bible it talks about or it warns against Christians engaging in divination.
Okay.
And with astrology, I mean, that's kind of a form of divination. But my thing with that is like, number one, what does that have to do with demons? How does she know that associating yourself with your zodiac sign means that you're yoking yourself to demons? How does she know that? I don't think the Bible ever explicitly says that.
No.
I think it just talks about divination being a sin.
I mean, even the idea that other religions are demonic is a post-biblical interpretation of Christianity. It's not biblical in the first place. It's something that came about, several decades, if not hundreds of years later.
Yeah. But also in the Bible, there are a lot of examples of divination
Yeah.
and astrology. I mean, the wise men following the star to find baby Jesus,
Yeah.
that's kind of a form of astrology. And like the whole book of Revelation is like in evangelical Christians' mind is kind of foretelling future
Yeah,
events.
that's true.
And Christians all the time will think that God is speaking to them and talking to them directly, telling them about things that are going to happen in the future. So Christians do engage in divination, but they like say that it's different because they're getting this information from God rather than from like other spirits, I
Yeah.
suppose.
But
But
the level of verification is the same between like doing astrology versus saying that you have heard a voice in your head.
yeah.
Like there's no epistemological difference between those things.
Yeah, and I mean, you could use astrology or zodiac signs to and in conjunction with your Christian faith.
Yeah.
And I feel like that should be valid within evangelical Christianity, but of course it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then she also talks about how, or kind of alludes to it being demonic because people that are into astrology and horoscopes and everything are putting their or placing their entire identity or getting their entire identity from their zodiac sign, which is definitely a thing. Like, I'm not personally into astrology. I know that I'm like a Libra, but I've like looked into what being a Libra means, and I don't think that I like identify with any of the supposed traits of being a Libra, because like the main thing is that you're like social and like outgoing.
Yeah, not so
And
much.
anybody who knows me knows I'm like the opposite of that. I'm like a major introvert. But this idea that like you're getting your entire identity from this one thing and that makes it harmful, how is she doing anything that's different? Because I'm assuming that as a Christian now, she's placing her entire identity, like getting it entirely from like God and Christianity and the Bible. So it's like you're still using the same tactic. Your source has just changed.
Yeah.
And so like I don't really see how those things are different personally. And if you want to be delivered from demonic entities, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, Aura. So recently, out of curiosity, I decided to do a quick Google search of my name, and I was absolutely shocked to find much of my personal data listed on like random websites. These websites had information on my past addresses, people I'm related to, places I used to work, and even my professional licenses that I've obtained. As someone who's super careful about what I put out there about myself online, especially given the type of content I produce, I was pretty freaked out knowing this info was so easily accessible through a quick Google search. I'm also constantly finding that my email inbox is flooded with spam and promotional emails, even from companies I've never given my email address to. Like, this is super embarrassing, but I have almost 40,000 unread emails in my inbox, most of which are just spam from random companies and websites. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has an overflowing inbox. Please, somebody tell me that they can relate to this. This is such a common experience because these companies called data brokers sell your personal information, like your email addresses and phone number, to other companies and marketers. What's really messed up is that these data brokers don't need your consent to do this, and they'll even sell your info to scammers and stalkers. You can request that they remove your info, but often they make this process so confusing and tedious that it's almost impossible. This is where Aura comes in. Aura does the hard work for you by automatically removing your info from these websites, and they'll keep it off for good. If they find your phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web, they'll send you an alert pretty much immediately. They'll let you know fast if anyone tries to use this information to access your credit or bank accounts. And they provide you with $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst happen. They also have a bunch of other features like VPN services and antivirus software that keep you safe online all inside one app. This is so much better than dealing with all of this on your own or by using separate software or systems. So here's the best part. You can go to my link, aura.com/antibot, to try out Aura for free for 14 days. That's more than enough time for Aura to find out if your data is exposed. I hated finding out my info was floating around out there for anyone to use. I don't want to be vulnerable to future data breaches, and if you don't want to be either, you can go to aura.com/antibot to try them out for 2 weeks free of charge. Thanks, Aura. Now back to the video.
Number 2, no self-help books. Self-help books, unless they are explicitly Christian, tend to have a self-righteous, self-absorbed, and very self-motivated plot. Most of the time, they talk about how you have the ability to change everything and manifest everything for yourself, and that's just not how it works. You need God to manifest good things in your life.
You need God to manifest good things. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I hate to break it to her, but whether or not a self-help book is Christian or not, like, it's still going to be focused on the reader. Like, it's literally in the title, like
Yeah.
self-help. It's going to be something that helps the self, even if it is Christian. And like she said, you should be using God to manifest things in your life. Okay, well, the focus is still on yourself. You're still trying to get this desired outcome in your life. You're just using God instead of like manifesting or something.
Right. I think it's a really dangerous thing to see something as being Christian and then just automatically come to the conclusion that it is not selfish, that it's good intentioned and good faith, not that it has like some kind of capital incentive, like monetary incentive behind it, which self-help books, whether they're Christian or not, do. Many books, many things have monetary incentives behind them, whether they're Christian or not. And the Christian part does not like eliminate that. In fact, Christians control more wealth than anybody else in this country. And so I think it can be dangerous to be like, oh, well, look at this book, and if it's Christian, then you can probably just go ahead and accept that this is like not coming from a place of selfishness. This will not steer you in a selfish direction. It might. You still need to judge it based on its contents.
She's kind of saying like, because it's Christian and I define Christian as not being selfish, therefore it's not selfish.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you need to look at the contents of the book in order to determine that. You can't just define things as good, which you and I both know that a lot of evangelical Christians, especially evangelical creators, they pretty much just define Christianity and God as good as a cop-out to get away with whatever point they're trying to make in an argument, basically.
Yeah, and also to be like, hey, the way that I'm, selling t-shirts or selling courses or selling Bible studies or selling big, giant price tags for my Christian events, like, it's all fine. You don't need to look into it. I'm not being selfish because I'm a Christian.
I'm doing it for God and God's kingdom.
Yeah.
Number 3. Gossip or cursing. I still kind of curse and I don't like it, and I am trying to work on it. Unfortunately, I grew up in a household where the F-bomb was just the adjective for everything. I definitely do try not to gossip anymore. I was born into a majority female family, and women, for some reason, we just gravitate towards gossip. It fuels something in our ego that I can't even explain. I don't do it because I don't want to speak death or speak negatively into someone's life. As God tells us, we know that life and death is in the tongue.
Is it just me, or are you still detecting like some manifesting new agey stuff in this? It's just like a Christianized version of new age stuff, like that there's power within word,
Yeah, and that's actually kind of a running theme that I've noticed with a lot of these exwitch creators, is that a lot of the terminology or the way that they'll phrase things, I'm like, that kind of comes more from like a new age perspective or like a witchy perspective than it comes from like American Christianity today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just kind of find this to be just sexism, and I find it really ironic that that I came across this TikTok just a couple days ago when Trump and Elon were having their little public beef online, where they're basically, I mean, you could characterize it as gossiping about each other very publicly. And so for her to say like this is something that women struggle with more than men, I'm like, I don't know about that. I think it's just something that everybody does. And I think the idea that gossip is always a bad thing comes from evangelical Christianity, and evangelical Christianity trying to undermine women's ability to organize and communicate information to each other.
Yeah.
Because really, when gossip was like called a sin or determined to be a sin by the church, it was in an effort to silence women and keep them from talking about like abusive men, basically. So the idea of gossip being a sin is really something that comes from like patriarchy and like conservative Christianity.
But it's okay because it's Christian.
Number 4, no demonic movies or songs. Anything. I used to love horror movies. I used to be a huge horror fan. I used to be one of those girls who absolutely loved Halloween. I used to dress up all the time for Halloween. I used to love watching scary movies and crawling into bed with some popcorn and watching scary things. But I've realized that this opens up portals of fear into your life. Demonic movies and songs open up a door for the demonic to come into your life. You are legally giving them the right to come into your life because you've now chosen for them to be there.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, first of all, if you did this, you would, all of your music and all of your movies, all of your entertainment would have to go. Even your tattoos would have to go.
Well, I think that the idea that movies and music and kind of by extension, objects are portals to the demonic is actually something that comes from movies. It comes from movies like The Exorcist, like we talked about before. The idea within kind of conservatism and Christianity, fundamentalist Christianity, that like Ouija boards like open up a portal to the devil comes from The Exorcist, because it's like generally believed that Reagan was possessed by Pazuzu through a Ouija board, even though the movie never explicitly states that. And then there was also, around the time that the movie came out, Billy Graham, like the really well-known televangelist, was like stated that the movie, like The Exorcist, was like embodying evil. And even though like The Exorcist was actually like a Christian movie, it's a very like religious movie, but it was a Catholic movie, and he didn't like that because it promoted Catholicism, so of course he had to like come out against it. So like the whole idea that horror movies are like literal portals like comes from movies themselves. It's not necessarily like a traditional belief within Christianity.
Right. And then the themes of demonic possession and all this kind of stuff that might be popular within this type of media, that all comes from Christianity. Like, not every part of it. A lot of it is just invented for a movie, but the general themes themselves are Christian. Like, The Exorcist was a Christian movie that made converts for Christianity. So, I mean, to say that they're just, like, opening up portals or something like that, it's like, okay, well, I mean, talk to the Christians who actually made some of the movies like this, that consulted on movies like this, and believed all the things that went into constructing the themes of these movies in the first place.
Yeah, like a surprising number of horror movies have Christian themes.
Yeah.
If they're not like explicitly Christian, like the movie Nefarious that you did a review of, that's an explicitly like pure flicks-esque Christian horror movie. But even like we've talked about before, the Conjuring series has very like obvious Christian elements and like a Christian message. So does she think it's not okay to watch Christian horror or horror that has Christian messages in it? And also, I think that you could argue that a lot of stories from the Bible could be in the genre of horror. Like, a lot of them are super scary. So is she against that? Like, I feel like this doesn't make any sense.
Also, Halloween, like, Halloween, you know, has roots as like a pagan holiday, but there are also Christian elements and Christian roots to the same holiday. Is that okay? Does that mean that the Christians were wrong for doing that? I mean, look at inspiring philosophy stuff with every single holiday we have. He's like, no, this is Christian. It's not pagan. You gonna disagree about that? It sounds like it.
And with most holidays, we're gonna have Christian and pagan or other or originations from like other religious traditions, because religion does not exist in a vacuum, and everything is going to be impacting and influencing everything else. So it's like if you're trying to find something that's like purely Christian, like that's just not going to happen.
Sounds like, I mean, the only way to go is Jehovah's Witness on this. No holidays.
Number 5 would be any kind of occult objects. I don't like to even go into stores that have incense and occultic, ritualistic items because I don't associate with them, and I know that
Sorry, I'm going to stop it a little bit before she's done, but incense is not something that's limited to the occult. Incense is used in Christian settings. It's used in like a lot of religious settings.
Okay, so you know, I guess one of the wise men brought Jesus an occult item. Frankincense. Incense is frankincense. That's what it is. Okay. Next thing she's gonna tell me that gold and myrrh are bad too. Jeez.
Having those things in your home opens up a door to the demonic because you give them legal right to be in your home. Some of those things would include crystals, which I know isn't necessarily demonic, but I am feeling convicted of that because that is something that I used to use. Pentagrams, or what people like to call, I forget what they're called. I'll put it up here. Most importantly, one of the objects that I try to avoid in my life is putting up any kind of candles or offerings to the dead. I know that there's a lot of Hispanic people out there that like to leave candles under a picture of someone who has passed away, but I am here to tell you that they cannot see that little candle. They cannot drink the coffee that you've set down in front of their photo. They cannot eat the piece of candy that you've set down in front of their photo. They are asleep. God tells us that when people die, they go into sleep, and we will not be awake again or resurrected again until the day he comes back.
That's like a kind of obscure interpretation of the afterlife in Christianity. That is not what I've ever been raised with.
Oh, really?
No, I mean, people go to heaven or
like
out.
being asleep. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not like asleep. Like I was
It's like almost like purgatory
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, but that's not even asleep. Like it's still conscious experience.
Yeah.
That's odd. That's okay.
But her talking about how you shouldn't have any candles to loved ones, that's kind of just bigotry. And it's really, to me, pointed at like Latin American Christians, who a lot of them kind of integrate some of their indigenous practices with Catholicism. And so like lighting a candle or leaving offerings for the dead is, as I understand, something that they do in that culture. And so I think like her making a dig at that specifically is, well, you're just kind of being a little bit bigoted there, I think.
I mean, this is like it smacks of Protestantism big time, because I mean, Orthodox and Catholic traditions have had tons of different icons and, had relics of those.
Yeah.
Have had memorial days where you do burn candles, where you do give like a sort of symbolic offering. And so, I mean, yeah, this is very much like, okay, Christianity right now in this very specific, very white place where she occupies.
Yeah.
This doesn't really account for what Christian tradition has been historically.
Well, and I think she's kind of also just assuming that lighting a candle or putting out candy is something that these like people think their loved ones can literally consume or see.
Yeah.
Which I think that there probably are a lot of people that do think that, and that's completely valid. But I think for a lot of people, that's also something that's a symbolic act.
Yeah.
And they don't like literally believe that their loved one is going to eat a piece of candy that they leave out on an altar for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a secular thing to burn candles at a memorial or like place gifts at like, I mean, when someone like goes missing, often there will be like a candlelight vigil to like keep their memory going while there's someone
like
searching
a spark of hope. That's like literally what it
Yeah.
signifies. It's also like pouring out a drink for a loved one that's passed on. Like, do you think that your loved one is literally going to drink that little bit that you spilled on the ground? No, like it's a symbolic act.
Right.
And also in Christianity, I was just thinking about this earlier, the Advent candle, like a month prior to Christmas, every single week, Christians will light a different candle leading up to Christmas. And that could kind of be characterized as lighting a candle for someone who died because...
Well, but Jesus can see it because he sees everything.
Maybe that's the difference. But like really, like Jesus was someone who died. I understand that they believe that he rose from the dead, but like you're still lighting a candle in his honor.
Yeah.
And like the Advent candle, that's a whole thing that I could, like a whole tangent, but I think that the Advent candle is, or the Advent candles are just candle magic. That's like really what it is, because you have like different colors that are associated with different things.
Yeah.
Like it's very much candle magic. But anyways, yeah, so that's the end of hers. Okay, so this next one you're really gonna love.
Oh, great.
And I think you're gonna have a lot to say about it, honestly.
Hi, this message is for Witch Talk. It is for anyone who is practicing witchcraft, tarot readings, astrology, or any form of New Age spirituality. This is a quote from the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey. Please do not confuse the Church of Satan with the Satanic Church, who does not believe in Lucifer as a real being. The Church of Satan does recognize his divinity and his power. In the scores of books,
Okay, so I'm just gonna pause it here because we have a lot of things to correct.
Oh my God.
So first of all, the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey's church, they are an atheistic organization.
Yeah.
They don't believe in the literal devil.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was thinking of the Temple of Set, and I don't think that she would. The Temple of Set is not like widely known. Like when people think of Satanism, they automatically think of Anton LaVey. That's like pretty much the only thing anyone knows about Satanism. So I don't think that she was thinking of the Temple of Set, but they were an offshoot from the Church of Satan headed by a guy named like Michael Aquino. And they do have supernatural beliefs attached to it and think that Satan is a literal entity. So they are a theistic religion. So that there's that possibility.
And she also might have been thinking that she might have been thinking about TST, like the Satanic Temple, which is non-theistic.
Yeah, she says, don't confuse that with the Satanic Church. And I think she meant Satanic Temple, which is also a non-theistic organization.
Right.
So right off the bat, a lot of things wrong.
Lining the shelves of New Age bookstores, there are instructions for guided meditation, creative visualizations, out-of-body experiences, getting in touch with your spirit guides, fortune telling by cards, crystal balls, or the stars. What if Satanists reclaimed these for their own dark purposes and integrated them into rituals dedicated to the devil, where they rightfully belong? New Agers have freely drawn upon all the manner of satanic material, adapting it to their own hypocritical purposes. But in truth, all New Age labeling is, again, trying to play the devil's game without using his infernal name.
Okay, so that was apparently a quote from Anton LaVey, and I researched into this, and it's supposedly from a book by a former member of the Church of Satan who was writing about the church. And in that book, supposedly it contains this quote from Anton LaVey, but I couldn't get access to the book to verify that. And then also online when I was researching, all of the websites that were quoting it were Christian websites.
Yeah, of course.
So
she probably got this from a Christian website.
Yeah. But something to know about Anton LaVey is that he was very much against the hippie movement. He was a very like law and order type of person. Like the Satanic Bible was influenced quite a bit by like Might is Right and what's that one? Ayn Rand kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he really despised hippies and like, you know, when Anton LaVey was really active, that was in the 60s, and that's when the hippie movement was really big.
And he lived in San Francisco, where that was the epicenter of that whole thing.
Yeah, and people were experimenting with new age stuff and like psychedelics. So I think that if this quote is real, I think this is more meant to be like a dig at the hippie movement.
Yeah.
And like another thing with Anton LaVey is that he was a very like eccentric showman of a person and would say things that were like purposely salacious.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he necessarily believed that all of these new age practices belonged to Satanism, or if he was just trying to like be a dick to the hippies. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also like the Church of Satan was very much about like play and creating spaces where you act as if something is real or true or whatever without actually believing it. And one of the points of that was to kind of garner a reaction from Christians where they're like, look, I told you, look, see? And then he goes, you're a moron. If you think that I'm being serious about this, you're an idiot. Because I've literally written about the fact that I do not believe any of this is real.
Yeah.
But you're choosing to turn a blind eye to what I have said I actually think. And instead you're looking at this to like try to conveniently make a point about your own mythology.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, basically Anton LaVey played games in a way to kind of show that religion is a game, including their religion. And they're showing that right now.
Yeah. And I think he wanted to take some of the tools from religion and incorporate that in a completely secular, like atheist environment.
Yeah.
And he had a whole like system of magic that he called like greater and lesser magic. And greater magic was like for ceremonies. And then lesser magic had to do with how you interacted with people. And I'm not really a big fan of this, but like manipulated people to get what you wanted. But it wasn't, he used the term magic, but it wasn't actually some sort of supernatural force that he believed in.
Yeah.
It was more of you can do these certain actions to get this outcome.
Yeah.
So obviously this is something that this lady has no idea about.
Right.
He's telling y'all to give Satan his religion back. I know you guys are tired of other people telling you that what you're doing is demonic. I know you guys are tired of other people telling you that what you're doing is demonic. I know, because I was there too. These practices have been around for ages. My ancestors did this. Well, guess what? God was before your ancestors. He was before any other religion and spiritual practices made by men. These practices were channeled through Lucifer himself to deceive humanity, to rebel against the true nature of God. Anton LaVey.
Yeah, she's literally defending colonialism there. I mean, like, the idea that gender diversity and diversity of religions and diversity of gender roles were demonic. Those were ideas that were used to justify the massacre and the genocide of indigenous people in North and South America.
Yeah.
I mean, those ideas were created for that express purpose. And then now it's like, I know this really well because my ancestors practiced these things. And instead of being like, my ancestors were colonized and slaughtered and enslaved by these people with these ideas, it's like, no, the slaveholders, the genociders, they were right. We should listen to them. I mean, it's like, I know that she doesn't see it that way, but that is the reality of the situation. And it's pretty gross.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that why she's kind of putting both witchcraft and Satanism in this same category of like bad is because the church has historically like accused people of being witches or being Satanists, and primarily people of regions that they were colonizing. And they would say that the indigenous traditional religious practice was demonic or satanic, or it's witchcraft.
Yeah.
And so like that's why these two things are like put together. It's not necessarily because they are the same thing, and at their core they are satanic.
Yeah.
Is laughing at y'all for playing the devil's game and not wanting to give him the rightful place where he belongs in those practices. I don't want to offend you. I'm asking you to think logically and to remove your triggers, your emotional attachment and offense from the words that I'm saying. This message was not from me. It came from him. Stop following these spiritual practices blind.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what people with a slave whip in one hand and a Bible in the other said in order to justify killing people. That, you know, this isn't coming from me, this is coming from him, so it's okay if I rape and murder as much as I want. Because God. I mean, that it's not an exaggeration. Remove your triggers from the words that I'm saying, remove your emotions from the words that I'm saying, and realize that this is just the truth. It's not coming from me, it's coming from history.
Blindly. Stop turning an eye on the origins and the true nature, the true spiritual laws that were implemented in the creation of these practices.
I'm going to read what she wrote here. Lucifer wants you to believe that you are above and can protect yourself from these spiritual laws to entice you to engage in the occult. You are all gods is the first lie that separated us from God and continues to do so. Stop listening to the snake.
Was it actually really a lie? You'll become like God, knowing good and evil? No, it wasn't a lie.
Like
Not a
that's
lie.
literally what happened.
Yeah.
And also the idea that you're a god is not necessarily something that's prevalent within witchcraft, because like, first of all, witchcraft is a very like slippery term, and what it means to be a witch, it can mean like a lot of different things, because some people take up the label of witch simply as like a political signifier or like a reclamation. For other people, it's something that like a practice that was like passed down to them from like their family members. And other people, like they just do like spell work. But something that's really a common trait for most people that call themselves witches is that witchcraft is like focused on what you do. It's like a votive religion, if it's considered a religion at all, and a lot of witches are very adamant that it's not a religion. So, but there really aren't like these like mandatory beliefs that you have to have if you're a witch.
Yeah.
Like some witches, especially Wiccans, do have beliefs about the supernatural, like the god and goddess thing. But even then, that's not something that they focus on at all. Like just in witchcraft in general, like beliefs about the supernatural are kind of like neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Like it's not really the focus. So the idea that you are a god in witchcraft is like, yeah, there are probably witches that believe that, but there's a whole bunch that don't. And then even within Satanism, like LaVeyan Satanism was obviously super influential on contemporary Satanism, and the belief that you're a god, or at least the phrasing that you are your own god, does come from LaVeyan Satanism, but it doesn't mean what she thinks it means.
Yeah.
Like I think that you would have a hard time finding a Satanist that actually believes that they're a god.
Yeah.
It's kind of a way of expressing like humanistic values, I guess.
If you claim to be spiritually awake, recognize the entities working behind these practices. There is a reason God specifically condemns these practices in the Bible. Give the Holy Spirit this much room to reveal himself to you, and he will pour out his knowledge onto you.
Yeah, and the Witch of Endor is kind of like a nice lady.
Yeah, there's one witch in the Bible, and as our friend Joe has said, she's actually a really nice lady. She like
actually help them a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so she's talking about the true origins and the true entities behind things like Satanism, right? So let me get into a fact that she's entirely leaving out when it comes to the origins of LaVeyan Satanism. Anton LaVey was a lecturer in the Bay Area and was attracting like a little bit of a following just as a lecturer, talking about some of his like philosophical stuff. And it was very much like entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And then a book publisher approached him and was like, hey, can you write a book? And we are going to contribute to the marketing of this. And the marketing team plus Anton LaVey converged on the Satanic Bible.
Yeah.
So like the idea of LaVeyan Satanism and a Satanic Bible was done by a publishing agency in the 1960s to make money.
It was a marketing ploy.
Yeah, it was a market.
And it worked.
It was a gimmick. Like it was literally all a gimmick. And then it's like, oh, well, you got to realize like the true nature of the true origins of blah, blah, blah. And you're not mentioning the fact that this was done in order just to make money. And the person behind it was literally like, no, I don't believe any of this.
Yeah.
Come on. You're using all of these words. And they don't mean what you think they mean.
Well, and I think that there was some like real satanic philosophy behind like Anton LaVey and what he thought. But even if we like just put aside all of the marketing gimmick stuff and just take for granted that he actually said that quote that she quoted earlier, and that he actually really like Anton LaVey believes that stuff about New Age being actually satanic. Okay, like Anton LaVey was just a dude. Like I understand that pretty much the only thing that like the general public knows about Satanism is Anton LaVey, and his philosophy was really influential on contemporary Satanism. He is just one dude at the end of the day, and just because one dude said a thing doesn't mean that that's true or that the majority of Satanists agree with him, because I think the majority don't.
Yeah.
Like I certainly don't. Like
That's true.
Think New Age is its own thing. And that's what most religious scholars think.
I mean, if Anton LaVey said, no, Satanism has nothing to do with any of this stuff, all of that stuff is Christian, leave it to the Christians, would you believe him then?
Yeah, probably
No,
not.
I don't.
We'd be like, oh, he was just a crazy person.
Yeah.
Moving on to the third one.
Witchcraft is like a gang? What?
This one's really crazy too. And so I actually have two from this particular lady, and she seems to be one of the larger exwitch creators on TikTok. And we're going to talk more about her because, of course, she's up to like shenanigans.
People literally think that witchcraft is no big deal, that it's just playing with rocks, or if you've gone into dark magic, that's just your thing. But here's the thing, is I am somebody who was in
Why do Republicans look like that?
witchcraft, introduced as a child, pursued it as a teenager, came into it in my 20s, worked with a medium, all that. And here's the thing, is that it is like you are in a gang when you are in witchcraft and you try to get out. Now, if you're in it, oh, you're just in it and things happen and you kind of become desensitized. That's what happened to me. I became desensitized to all the demonic stuff, which was a spiritual warfare, all the things that I had involved myself in. I became desensitized to so much evil. But once I made the decision that I wanted to get out, it was like I had to get jumped out by the demonic. When you are in a gang, you have to be initiated in, okay? It's the same thing with witchcraft. There are things that you have to do. You get initiated in, and if you want to get out, you have to get jumped out.
All right, so this immediately gives me red flags and kind of makes me doubt that she was actually ever a witch.
Yeah.
Because most witches are solitary practitioners,
Yeah.
meaning they are not part of a coven or any larger group. There are covens, and especially like that's the case for Wiccans. But for the most part, there's no like mandatory initiation.
Yeah.
You can, if you're a solitary practitioner, you can self-initiate yourself into witchcraft. And it's just like a little ritual that you get from a book or for someone online, or you make up yourself to like initiate you as a witch. But that is not a requirement. And I would kind of suspect that like most people that describe themselves as witches don't do that. So when she says you have to be initiated when you're in witchcraft, I'm like,
Not really.
it feels like she read a book authored by Christians about what witchcraft is. So
Yeah.
I am like already kind of suspicious of her.
Yeah. Also, what does jumped out mean? Like,
so-
as in, okay, the worst case scenario is that you experience this, you like are doing witchcraft stuff and you get out and you post it on Tumblr. I'm done with you all. I'm going to church now. Like, Jesus is all our savior, and you're doing demonic stuff. And then all the Tumblr girlies are like, fuck you. You know, that's probably worst case scenario for leaving witchcraft. I'm going to be honest.
She'll explain what she means by jumped out. Because when I first watched this, I thought she meant that like other witches were like attacking her or like being mad at her for leaving.
Okay.
But that's not actually what she's talking about.
Oh, it's probably something crazier than that.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Or they come for your family, they come for your friends. I was gang affiliated in my addiction and in early sobriety, and so I know a little bit of stuff about that, and I parallel it to the spiritual realm. When I got out of witchcraft, I got saved, I got baptized, I experienced a lot of demonic stuff, I backslid for a while, and then when I went into that prayer session and I got delivered for 3 hours, right? I had all these demons being cast out of me, been mentally healed, physically healed since. But when that happened, those demons, those witchcraft spirits, those sexual demons, those tormenting, foul, wicked, unclean things that the Bible talks about, they came for me. They came for my household. And we were literally under siege. My roommate.
So she's saying when she left witchcraft, she was experiencing demonic oppression because the demons were mad that she was no longer a witch and that she was following Jesus.
Okay.
And she was under sage.
That sounds witchy.
I was going to say, I'm like,
Under
did you
siege?
have like a shit ton of sage in your house that you were burning? Like, what are you talking about? I think she meant under siege.
Yeah.
So apparently that's what she's comparing to being jumped out when you're part of a gang, which I did look up. And that's like when the gang members like go and like beat up your family and friends.
Yeah.
For you leaving.
My ex, we had experienced a ton of warfare as a result. Crazy. I just recorded this whole second part of the video and it randomly just vanished. I hit the next button and it vanished. That's how you know the enemy doesn't want you speaking about what you were going to speak about. During the month of October, there are so many.
So you just gave away the whole game here. You just interpret any little tiny random thing that could happen to anybody for any random nonsensical reason to be demons doing stuff to you directly for a very specific purpose, and it's like provable somehow. You just discredited yourself entirely. Like, I don't believe anything you say now. If that's what demonic warfare or attack, it's like, come on.
And she's on TikTok, and like a notoriously buggy and like kind of hard to use app when you're a creator. I know, because I've like been trying to use TikTok more recently. It's actually not super intuitive. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are like perfectly reasonable explanations for why that happened to her. It doesn't have like, why are you jumping immediately to it being demons? Like, I can't imagine the amount of anxiety that this lady must live with when she interprets like little things like that as like demons, you know?
So the demons like can control your phone, presumably, and do whatever they want. But they couldn't prevent you from getting nearly 300,000 likes on this one video.
Yeah, I'm like, if the demons were really oppressing you and like trying to prevent you from recording this, why did they allow you to post it at all?
Yeah.
How does that make sense? And also earlier she was talking about like getting jumped out and being attacked by demons when she left Witchcraft. I looked at her more recent TikToks, and I'm assuming this is like years after all of this happened. She's still today talking about how demons are oppressing her and like different ways that demons are attacking her. I'm so like, were they going after you because you left Witchcraft, or do you just interpret everything as being a demonic attack?
Yeah.
And like they're attacking you now. Like, I don't understand the logic.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll see with this lady in particular. Like, she makes no sense.
Rituals and things that are going on that people don't even know about. Witchcraft is intensified during this month, and in October, every single year since deliverance, I can feel the pull of the enemy. So if you are feeling the allure, the pull to watch scary movies, to go to haunted houses, to be a part of demonic things, to even celebrate Halloween, I would highly, highly, highly encourage you not to. Now, you have the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit leads you. If you're a Christian, you follow that. But I would highly, highly doubt that the Holy Spirit is going to lead you into dark festivals that glorify fear, that glorify death, and that glorify the demonic. Guard your mind, guard your heart, guard your eye gates, and guard your ear gates. There are shows coming out like Hocus Pocus 2, Haunted Mansion. Do not...
Hocus Pocus 2 and Haunted Mansion? Girl, are these really the movies that you need to be worried about? Like, these are literally like children's movies.
Maybe people want to go to Halloween festivities because they look fun. And people can just think that things look fun, and it doesn't have to be some spirit inhabiting your body to be like, ooh, doesn't that look like fun to eat candy and listen to music and dance with your friends and wear costumes? Whoa, come on.
You don't have to dress up as like a demon or a witch or a ghost or anything. You can, like, a lot of Christians especially dress up as something that's a little bit more bland, I suppose.
Come on, be a Bible character or something like that. Go have fun.
Watch these things because you open your home up to the demonic. And I'm going to tell you something about the devil that maybe you don't know or don't think about. The enemy does not care about vulnerability. He does not care about your children. He does not care about your weaknesses and your ailments. In fact, he will capitalize on that.
So she says, I can't believe the audio just completely shut off. I tried my best to lip read, and this was what I got. This is what I got. If you're watching demonic things in your household, what you're doing is opening the door wide open for demonic stuff to come into your house and for your children. You're giving the demonic legal rights to your house with what you are watching.
Yeah, so, okay, this is why this has nearly 300,000 likes. Is because she's spinning this like she's being oppressed. And it's like, look, the proof is in this video that this happened. Like,
I guarantee you that she just turned the audio off herself.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee.
Like, she probably just, had some like technical issue where she forgot to press record the first time. And she turned the audio off on this one or like something. I can't believe that this works. I mean, this is so, I'm very hesitant to say things like this, but like, this is just stupid. It was incredibly stupid. Like, if you believe this, you need to think about this for more than 1 second. Pull yourself out of getting, caught up in like emotional narratives by this lady who's gesticulating wildly.
Yeah.
And instead, it gets worse.
Well, I was just gonna say, notice how she's speaking very confidently and like really energetic and kind of as an authority figure. Just bear that in mind. We'll discuss later. I'll like get back to that point later. So, but yeah, she definitely just turned that audio off on her, like herself. And she couldn't have just done a voiceover, now that I think about it.
No, she couldn't. Because
the demons?
Yeah, because the demons. She could record the rest of the video, edit it all together, be in the comments, everything.
Like she put music over this part.
Yeah.
She knew how to do that, but she didn't decide.
No,
because if she didn't do that, then it wouldn't make her point as effectively, probably.
So when you have sin in your life as a parent, what you are telling the devil is, come on in, get my children. That's what you're doing. So when you are a Christian and you are celebrating darkness and you are opening yourself up to watching shows or being part of certain events, your children are becoming prey to the devil.
This is kind of like sin of the father type of logic.
I mean, confirmed, supporting Israel gets your children possessed by demons because it is kind of an evil act at this point.
You can take it from me, somebody who literally came out of witchcraft, somebody who literally was with a Satanist who's also been abused by another Satanist.
That gives me, I have hard doubt about that. No offense to this lady, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but you don't look like somebody that would hang out with Satanists. You don't look like somebody that would even know where to go to find Satanists.
Well, maybe she looked different before the Republican makeover.
I doubt that. She has a lot of wild stories. Let's just say that. She has too many stories for all of them to be true, because she talks about, she's like a witch, and then she hung out with Satanists, and she used to be in a gang, and she used to be an alcoholic, and it's just okay, that seems a little excessive. I kind of don't think that all those things happen to you.
Yeah.
It just seems like you're trying to build a sob story to get your followers sucked into something that we'll talk about later.
That I know the level of evil. I don't even know how much evil happens in this month, but I can tell you that it's a lot, okay? And the veil is very thin between the natural world and the spiritual world at the end of October. So,
see, this is another example of an ex-witch found Jesus creator who's using the language and ideas that come actually from witchy circles and New Age. Because the idea that, or the belief that the veil between the living and the dead and between the natural world and the supernatural world is particularly thin at the end of October, around Halloween time or Samhain, is actually something that comes from witchy circles.
Yeah.
That's not a Christian belief, and it's almost something, I feel like she just Googled this.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, to me, this just kind of does seem like a character.
Yeah.
So guard yourself, be on guard, because the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone he can devour. Don't let it be you. Don't let it be your children. Don't let it be your home, okay? Because even if you plead the blood of Jesus over your house, but you are in disobedience to the Lord, praying the blood of Jesus isn't going to do anything if you are operating in sin and giving demons legal access to yourself. I encourage.
So is she saying there that the power of demons is stronger than pleading Jesus's name? Because I was taught that it was the opposite.
This is her story, not yours. This is her play.
I was told that if, it doesn't matter what sin you're living in.
Yeah.
If you place your trust in Jesus and you proclaim his name, he has the power to overcome any of those demonic forces. I wasn't really, as a Christian, taught a lot about demons. We weren't into this charismatic kind of stuff. But I was taught that it was the opposite. And here she's basically saying that even Jesus doesn't have the power to overcome demonic forces. you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I've given up on this making
Like,
it
kind of,
sad.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no logicking this.
Urge you to repent, okay? Repent, which means turn away, renew your mind. It's not just falling face first on the altar at church on Sunday and going back and doing it again, although I understand it's a process and it was definitely a process for me. But if this is your sin, throw it in the trash. Do away with it. Turn away from that thing. You have to change the way that you think about that thing. If you love your sin, bro, that's a dangerous place to be. And if that is you, ask God to help you hate it. To reveal something that's a pretty bold ask is you can say, Lord, show me the demons that are operating behind this sin. If you really want. I mean, I wouldn't encourage that, but I saw some of the demons that were operating behind my alcoholism, behind abuse, behind trauma, behind witchcraft, behind sexual sin. I didn't want to see these, but when I got delivered, when I basically got jumped out of witchcraft, these things came for me. They came for my house. They came for my family. Like I said, my roommate, my ex experienced all of this. It was...
I'm so confused. So she's saying that, like, she was delivered from demons, but then they also were attacking her family instead? Like, is that what she's saying?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I'm just sitting here thinking that, like, if you ask God, like, please let me see from now on all the demons operating behind everything in my life, you're just deciding on your own to interpret anything and everything that ever happens as, like, either being directed by good spirits or by bad spirits.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so now you can interpret, like, your phone glitching or TikTok being hard to use as being demonic.
Yeah, you're priming yourself to see.
Exactly. You're priming yourself to see it. I mean, that's not impressive. Like, anyone can do that. And they can do that for other religions too.
But she's saying, I believe that I believe in demons. It's like, yeah, you already want to see demons everywhere. So you're going to see demons everywhere.
Yeah.
Pretty extreme. And they showed themselves to a couple of us. So, and no, before anybody says it's psychosis, no, multiple people experience this. There's no such thing as a group psychosis. Look it up. That's a psychological fact. However,
well, you're saying that multiple people experienced this. I don't know if she's actually had any of her friends or family that were supposedly attacked by demons onto her platform. I haven't seen that. So she's saying that other people experienced this, but we only have her word to go off of.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you can watch a lot of videos of, deliverance ministry and things like that. I mean, there are people, like, there are videos. There's the famous video of that guy, like, being delivered, and he's, like, laying on the ground and going like this, and the pastor's over him, and he's, like, spewing out demons, and he gets a phone call, and he, like, stands up, he's like, yeah, hello, yeah, and the pastor's like, what are you doing? And he's like, hold on, yeah, and he, like, just continues with his phone call, and then he's like, okay, again, yeah, it's a cultural script. It doesn't have to be psychosis. It's not psychologically abnormal for humans to engage in a shared ritual and even a shared experience and sense of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Like, the two options aren't it's psychosis or it's actually demons.
Yeah.
Like, there is this middle ground of it's not psychosis, but there are natural explanations for why people are experiencing this, even though it's not necessarily like a psychotic episode.
Right.
These demons revealed themselves to me, and they were ugly and they were scary. So when you are taking your child to an event, why don't you ask the Lord, what's really operating behind this? Will you show me? I encourage you to be bold enough to ask God, because he will expose evil. And this is not a month where you need to be complicit with evil. We don't lean as Christians. We stand.
Okay.
You just know that she's really mean to other moms in the carpool or like.
Yeah. She's not somebody that I would ever want to be around.
No.
All right, so we have one more from her, and we're not going to watch the full TikTok because it is kind of long. So we're only going to watch about the first third of it.
Experience demons after watching Wicked. Oh,
yes,
it's one of these.
Yeah. Hello. I'm an ex-witch who saw Wicked. Maybe you saw this video that got a lot of attention because it was a little bit controversial as an ex-witch who saw Wicked, because why would I do that? So now I'm making a part 2 many months later to actually share that I was wrong, to actually share that I was deceived, and to
give a little context, I guess a while back she made a TikTok explaining why she thought it was okay to go see Wicked.
Okay.
actually share my experience after seeing Wicked and inviting it into my home and what happened. And additionally, I would like to publicly repent to anybody who saw my video and felt like it was approval for them to go see the movie Wicked. The reality is, yes, we can do anything that we want to do in this life. God has granted us free will. And of course, he even allows major abuse of free will. And you can do what you want, whenever you want. Doesn't mean that it's good for you. Now, I prayed before seeing the movie Wicked. I asked God if I could, and it was just kind of like, yeah. Because the reality is that I have free will and I can do whatever I want. I should have asked God, should I see this movie? I did have
Yeah, so this shows that you can ask God and hear God speak, and then it turns out that all of that was wrong. So, like, are you saying that God makes mistakes and can lie to you? Or are we admitting here that, like, maybe this is actually human decision at the root of it?
Well, she's saying that the wording that she used is what changed the message that she received.
Right, God got a little caught up in the fine
Yeah,
print
because
there.
she used the word could instead of should.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you're telling me that getting accurate information from your God is dependent on you using very specific wording. I'm like, I think that God should make it very clear what he wants and expects from his people.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be dependent on these minute little details.
Yeah.
Like, your God kind of sounds like an asshole.
I mean, meanwhile, the devil can do all kinds of stuff, and he gets the legal right to do it if you just go to a Halloween party and dressed up. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Sounds like a spooky world you live in.
of conviction. I was worried that it was maybe fear of man, and I got a little bit confused. I was like, I don't want to be religious. So I went and I saw the movie. And guess what? The movie was good. The theatrics were incredible. The music was great. The performances were amazing. I even did research on the people in the movie Wicked, prayed for them. It was lovely. But what I haven't shared, because I just have taken many months to process it and figure it all out with the Lord, is that I opened a door into my home for the enemy to attack, because I did also watch the movie in my house. I got attacked and my son got attacked. And we've been dealing with periodic demonic attacks that for him usually present, my 3-year-old present as nightmares and night terrors. For me, it usually presents as demonic attacks in the night, incubus or succubus related. I can make another video on that. I've been meaning to for quite a long time, related to that, or sleep paralysis or demonic dreams. But even when I get
So
Yeah.
she had some sexy gay dreams?
That's what she's saying. Yeah.
Those can be naturally occurring. I'm just telling you that.
Again, her examples of supposed demonic oppression are things that are actually very well studied and understood,
Yeah.
and are very natural phenomenon.
Like, sleep paralysis is a term for a naturalistic phenomenon that was not.
Yeah.
It was, the term sleep paralysis is not like a spiritual term. It was made up by scientists for something that had been called a spiritual term for a very long time preceding that.
And I feel like a lot of these people that are into this deliverance ministry stuff, a lot of the examples that they give of demonic oppression have to do with sleep paralysis, which is because Tucker Carlson, that was his example of being attacked by a demon, was sleep paralysis.
Gabriel Storm also says that, and he calls it sleep paralysis.
And I'm like, yeah, it's a medical term.
Yeah.
And it's very well understood.
And so are night terrors, especially in children.
Yeah. So I'm like, why is that proof of demons?
Does she think that you can't have a bad dream either without a demon? Like, how can you tell that it is that? I mean, you can't tell what God is telling you. You've admitted that. That was the opening of this video. You cannot tell what God is actually telling you when you're directly talking to him, apparently. Why should we trust you that demons are behind these events that you're describing, which can occur naturally?
Because she's saying it really confidently.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also find it confusing because she was saying how she was delivered from demons, but now she's saying that she's being attacked by demons.
Yep.
I'm like, wait, I thought you were delivered from them. And the way that I was taught Christianity, it's like God's always protecting you. If you believe in Jesus, even if you see a movie that maybe you think God wouldn't approve of, you still have his protection as a Christian.
Yeah.
So I just, this type of Christianity, I really, really have a hard time understanding because I just like was not brought up to believe any of this stuff.
I mean, I think that there can be some kind of like addiction cycles that happen with this stuff. And I often see this being upheld and promoted by people who are saying like they have come out of addiction. You know, they're constantly in like this boom and bust cycle of their spirituality. Like they are going and having like this big, massive experience that's just like it changes their whole life. And like from now on, everything's going to be different. And they maintain that from now on, everything is different until it's not. And then they have to go get another, big deliverance. And then they say the same thing again. I think what's going on is they're basically experiencing some kind of psychological and neurochemical reward for doing these big explosive rituals that make them feel like they have a renewed sense of self, makes them feel really good in a way. And like, that's okay if it makes you feel really good to do that with your community, whatever. But then, they have this like underlying ideology that will inevitably make them get into a place where they reason that they have to have another one of these things again. And then they like chase the reward again. It's similar to the people who do like these really giant, super charismatic like worship sessions where they're always justifying why they need to do it again and they need to go back and they need to do it again. And I think it really becomes like addiction.
Yeah.
Maybe this is less dangerous than other types of addiction, but I do still think that we can look at this through the lens of addiction.
Yeah.
Demonic dreams, the Lord reveals to me what is oppressing me. And I can humbly say that I was actually deceived and negotiating sin. I was negotiating sin. I was coming up with reasons why it was okay. Even, to be honest, some people called me out in the comments and I deleted their comments or blocked their comments or had something to say back. But some of those people were right. Now, some people for sure were operating in the religious spirit. And I do believe that there is a difference in convictions for different people because the scriptures are clear about that. That what is convicting to some may not be convicting to others. And so I am leaving my Wicked video up because a lot of what I said in that video was very true and very good and very scriptural. However, me negotiating the fact that I am allowed or should be able to see Wicked as an ex-witch honestly was a negotiation of sin. And I see that now. And that is what I am repenting of publicly.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it here. When she says that she's going to keep that up, like her original TikTok up, that really confuses me because how does she not think, like if she really believes that watching this movie can lead to demonic oppression for certain people, including herself, why is she not thinking like, well, because it could potentially lead to demonic oppression for some of my viewers, I should probably take it down. All right.
Yeah. I could not. I mean, that makes sense to me, but I could not tell you. I don't understand. I don't have a discerning spirit to discern spirits.
Well, and I think that this is like the inherent problem with this type of thinking when it comes to like the convictions thing and different things leading people into sin in different ways is that like everything has a potential to cause somebody to stumble in their faith or become demonically oppressed. So like logically, I would think, wouldn't you think that you shouldn't be saying anything at all?
Yeah.
And especially she's like admitting that she's gotten shit wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like if you really care about the spiritual well-being of your viewers, shouldn't you take down your TikToks like entirely, like delete your account because you could be potentially steering people in the wrong direction. It could have very significant negative impact on them, right?
Yeah.
Like being oppressed or possessed by a demon is like the worst thing that people can supposedly experience.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. None of the logic makes any sense to me. But let's just end it there with that one. All right. So remember how I talked about how she like speaks so confidently and like authoritatively?
Yeah.
Would you be surprised to learn that she is selling courses?
It's always that. It's always that. And
Yeah.
is it about how to like secure or like, maintain spiritual security in your life and become basically it's self-help, but through the lens of like the demonic and angels and spirits and stuff like that?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's Christian self-help new age stuff while denying that it is self-help or new age.
Yep.
Cool.
And it's even worse than that, honestly.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this is another reason that I have a lot of doubt about the things that she said before about her being a witch and being in a gang and all that kind of thing, because I'm like, but you're also trying to sell your viewers something.
Yeah.
And we know, especially in the self-help realm, that sob stories really sell.
Yeah.
So she is offering deliverance Zoom calls. And they're 2-hour Zoom calls where you get delivered for a demon for $300.
Wow. Okay.
Which I was under the impression that deliverance ministry was a ministry. Like
Yeah.
people are offering this service for free. They're not charging for it.
Yeah.
But apparently this lady is.
Okay.
So I looked at her calendar online and it doesn't look like she has any openings for this type of Zoom call like in the next year. So I don't really know if that means that she's like fully booked for these deliverance Zoom calls or if she's like not really doing it. But you can buy her $50 deliverance training course. And then it does look like you can book her for an hour-long mentoring call, whatever that means, for $150. And right now, she is actually having a workshop, and I think it's like $100 to attend, and it's titled like Psychology and where psychology and demonology meet or something like that.
Right. I bet that's not dangerous at all.
Where in this training, she's going to teach about the demons associated with things such as ADHD, narcissism, and bipolar disorder.
Well, she would know on the narcissism one, but the rest is pretty fucked up.
Well, interestingly, that's the one thing that she doesn't say that she has. She says she has experience with narcissistic partners, but not with narcissism herself, which I find hard to believe. But she does say that she has ADHD. And she maintains that she still has ADHD, but she also says that it was revealed to her that it was also a demon, and she called it like the spirit of being deaf and dumb, like the deaf and dumb spirit is what she called it.
Okay.
And she says having ADHD, if you're someone that has ADHD, you also have this deaf and dumb spirit, which is like...
So she shouldn't have ADHD anymore if she's like, can get delivered and she knows how to do deliverance.
She says she still has ADHD.
This makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no fucking sense at all. And also it's like insanely ableist. I can't even like begin with it. Yeah, but the main point I wanted to say with this is that if somebody, especially on TikTok, is talking like they know everything and they're speaking very like with authority and very confidently, odds are like 9 times out of 10, they're trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of doubt that she was an ex-witch or, she was in a gang or experienced all these horrible things. I kind of doubt that. I think it's just a marketing gimmick for her, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even the ex-witch to Christian grifter pipeline. It's the Christian grifter backstory that they invent for themselves so they can sell you something. Well, we didn't have any technical issues throughout this entire video, so I guess that kind of proves their point, huh? That the devil must be on our side for this to have gone well.
I mean, that tracks. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a huge thank you to my patrons who help make these videos possible. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Taylor_the_antibot. And if you'd like to consider supporting this channel financially, a link to my Patreon will be down in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. Say bye!